Alright, so I'm going to try and film this from over here. Hopefully you guys can see everything. I've got to keep this thing plugged in, so I need to be back a little further. So we've got the Creality, the official Creality, Ender 3 Dual, blah blah blah. For Ender 3, Ender 3 Pro, Ender 3 V2. Okay. I've already opened it up. I already inspected the contents of the kit. I was debating which printer to hook it up to. I'm going to go ahead and do the Neo. Meanwhile, I'm printing a different bracket for this. But what we're going to do is just do this one for now. I don't know that this is the best printer. They all kind of seem to be the same. But I don't really feel like converting the Ender 3 Pro, even though that is highly modified already with a 4.2.7 computer and a new display and direct. No, it doesn't have direct drive. BL Touch. So this is the only one other Ender 3 that I have that has a touch sensor. This one here does not, but this does have this. They both really appear that they could use this modification, but we're going to go with this one for now. And so in the kit is this really, really beefy piece here to relocate the power supply on the other, the 3 Pro. So they do give you some instructions, and it's basically a pictorial of what you need to do, and it's not super complicated. If you're not mechanically inclined, this could be very difficult, especially if you didn't have the instructions. So what we're going to end up having to do is removing this bracket so that we can add this bracket, and some wiring and things like that. I don't have everything already set up, but I'm in the workshop, so it's not like a huge deal. This is an aluminum bracket. It looks like it's probably identical in construction here as far as this piece goes to this one here. I've seen ones that are different. So this is actually just going to go like that. And I believe there's going to be some spacers or something. I don't know. I got to look at the diagram here. So you'll have to replace all these bolts and longer bolts with spacers. And because if you were to put it on right now, it would be riding up against this. You wouldn't even be able to bolt it down. But essentially, this is where it's going to be sitting. Let's see if you guys can see that. If I need to adjust my camera at all. Okay, so and then we have the top mounted bearings and stuff like that. The stepper motor is going to go down in here. There's supposed to be an issue with the stepper motor and about it, like not particularly wanting to go in here. They use identically looking to what's already on the printer, and to me they look like they're in a little too close, and I think that's kind of what they were complaining about. But I'm looking at it here on this one, and I see that it looks identical, so I think that should be fine. So let me see here. I feel like I'm gonna have to move the camera because I don't feel like any of this is really close enough. Okay, so that's probably a better view. So, all right, so do they actually give you like a step-by-step? they just show this thing here, and then, you know, step 1, assemble the double screw kit. Okay, so basically, you show one of these bolts go in a different direction, which I want them all going the same way. So what we're going to need to do, we'll get our, I think I have the ratchet over here somewhere. One of the things I noticed that Creality did that was really strange is they used standard 5/16. So we've got that right here, and then we just need the Allen wrench for the other side. And but I want to look at this quickly and see here. So you would probably want to go ahead and assemble the motor and coupler first, and then put the rod and the bracket on all at the same time, and then put the other piece up there. So the instructions are quite vague. So here's our bag of stuff. We're gonna need to figure out which ones are what, and the longest ones in here are going to be these, and that's going to be for that. I don't see any spacers, which is kind of strange. If we don't have spacers, there they are. So without these, you're not going to get that thing on there. It ain't happening. So but if you're doing the other printers, they're all going to be the same back here. Once you remove the power supply, you got to remove the power supply if you're doing that one. So they have numbers on the sheet, which I guess would correlate to the particular bolts that you're going to need. So you got to need the number 6 bolts. Let's look and see if we can find those. These are M316. These are the ones that I believe go down into the motor. There's no number on the package. Interesting. Number 5 is M316. So these attach this to the top of the stepper motor. And I think we would probably want to do that first. So let's go ahead and pull the stepper motor out of here. Okay. So here we go, stepper motor. And then they're flat round heads. Yeah, okay. So this would be, I think, maybe a little bit of a pain in the butt for somebody that's not mechanically inclined. But I mean, you can do it. You just got to study the diagram. I think most people that own a printer like this are kind of okay with tinkering with them. So, let's see, is this the right one? That is the wrong one. Another thing too, I try to do, just from like working as a mechanic, I try not to over tighten anything. I grab it right here. The way I'm not putting extra torque on it. I don't want to crack it. Just want it snug. So now we've done that. Now it shows there we got the T-nuts, and then these here are considered to be number 6. And it says number 6, what number 6 is? M414. So we look for M420, M414. And you can tell because they're the countersunk screw heads. So That's how you know you have the right ones. But they could have put the number on the paper on the bag, like they do on their printer kits. But it's okay. It took me a second to kind of catch on to that. So we're going to get 2 of these out of here. I'm really not a big fan of these things. They're kind of weird. They seem to work pretty good, though. They look like they wouldn't really work. You know, like you'd have to like have them in there perfectly to start with, but somehow they turn and lock themselves in there. So it's a very strange design. Somebody designed these knows a lot more than I do. So you want to get them started. Try not to drop them on the floor. So overall, the hardware for this kit looks pretty good. Okay. So now you would turn them like this and get them down in here in the slot. And then start to tighten. And what they do is they turn and they lock into the channel. And if they don't, you'll know because you'll tighten it and it'll pull right through. Okay. And we're just gonna put them snug, okay? Not like any Superman crap. Okay. So now we've got that there. So then our next step is going to be the coupler, and then the rod, and then the bracket. So we'll go ahead and pull the coupler out of the kit. It should already have the Allen screws in it. You may want to attempt to index this so it matches the same position as your other one, because it might help you, identify that you have both of them synced up. But if the stepper is in between a step where it clicks, you could have an alignment issue. So I think for me, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll loosen this a little bit. Put the right one. Nope. Okay. So they're actually both facing the same type of direction, but it would probably be like that. So now we'll go ahead and pull the rod out of the box, and you technically do not need to put the piece up at the top right there. You could just leave it like that, but they supply the bearings. Some guys were crying about the bearings eating up their Z height and all this. I don't generally print that high. So, and then I'm looking and seeing how high up do they have this on this printer, and you would need to kind of copy the other one. You might even take a caliper, then like measure it. So let's see here. I'm looking at mine. About pretty close. I'm just eyeballing it. I just want it to look normal. The other one is up a little higher, so now we got to get in here, and I can't see from this side, but I'm pretty sure that I don't have the right Allen wrench for the rest of this. This particular printer here next to me has one of the screws backwards. I thought that was kind of interesting. Actually, looks like they're all backwards. Weird. Huh. I wonder if that was how they were supposed to be done on this and just the guy assembled them backwards. Anything's possible. So in the kit there's these are your top bearings. We're not going to deal with them right now though. So we just need to find the other Allen wrench that I'm looking for, and we will also take our caliper here. We'll come in here with this, and I'm going to go in and I will measure. The gap is 6.27 millimeters. Let's see if we can get into this one. Looks the same to me. Okay. So, where, oh where, I've got many Allen wrenches laying around. I'm not sure which one's what. Okay, it's not that one. I like to use a ratchet just because it's quicker. You can use the tools that came in your kit. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, this one here is probably going to be different. I'm not sure how this one goes. This is on the eccentric nut. I think we're going to have to remove the entire bracket to get this one. Yeah. So, unfortunately, this whole bracket has to come off because it's tucked in the back. All right. Stupid design. And they don't tell you none of this in the video. So if you're doing a Neo, this one here, I can see it behind here, okay? Because the rail is exposed on this one. So you can put your wrench through here. On the Neo, you can't because the bar is solid on the other side. So I don't think the bracket has anything to do with the belt tensioner, so we should be able to just remove these two here, I think, and should be. Okay. I'm gonna loosen the belt just for the hell of it though, and then these here, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these. And then now, should be able to just pull this bracket out. See, they put the damn thing behind here, and the way this one works, it doesn't go through. So there's nothing that you can do about it. You got to remove the bracket. And then you're going to change this one. So how it is. They what they should have did was they should have put a square carriage type of bolt in there that would lock into the bracket, and it would, you know, not have to turn. But they don't really plan on you taking this thing apart and upgrading it this much. So, and then that's the eccentric. So as it turns, it puts pressure. It moves the bolt. So there's another reason why they designed it like that. So if we look right here, we'll see the number 4 bolts are M5 40, and there's 3 of them. Those are going to be the biggest bolts in the kit. So those are pretty obvious. Okay, and we're going to start with this one first, and we'll get our eccentric on there, and we'll have to get that. I'm not sure how that they plan to achieve this. Because I need to be able to tighten this with this sandwiched on this bracket. And I just don't see that there's going to be any way to do that properly. So we have a problem for sure. And the solution would be to probably drill a hole through here, which is something I don't want to do. So it leads me to think that maybe I will not modify this one, and I'll modify this one instead. Because if I can't tighten this without modifying this and drilling the hole through it, I ain't doing it. I'm not drilling holes in this thing at all. Not happening. So, oh, I know how you do it. You put it on here and then you bring it down to there first. Okay. I'm just overthinking it. Okay. Don't worry about it, guys. I got this. I got this. Alright, so we need a bracket here, which we threaded on here. Okay. So you want to thread it to where you can work with it. Right about here. Okay. So we got it right there. Can you see it? Okay, it's right there. We're going to come in here with this one. It's on the eccentric. We need to get our spacers. So if you look at your instructions here, they'll show you. But there's only 3 spacers in the kit. Okay? So you need one on each end. And I don't think they're supplying any other additional washers or anything like that. So it should be okay. Let's have a look here and see if they show anything else. They show 1 bolt going one way, 1 bolt going another way. I have no idea why, but the instructions are really poor on here. I mean, you really can't tell what the hell they want you to do. In fact, they're showing you this backwards. So they show the 2 going this way, and then of course they do show you the other one going the other direction. So that's going to be normal, yeah. Oops, we almost had a mishap here. Okay, so Yeah, they're just showing you assembling this entire thing. Like, they almost want you to put it all together and then try and put it on there. That's just not going to be the easy way to do this. That's going to be like the most ridiculous way to do this. So, we have our eccentric bracket. We've got our eccentric, and then we've got our spacer. And we're going to come in here with this. And then we'll take one of our nylock nuts, put it on there. And I'm going to put them all facing the same direction. I don't see why you'd want them backwards. So for this one here, we need to get the old one, put it there, put the new spacer, get it in there, and then put our nylock on here. Now we take this other one. This is going to be the trickiest one, really, because we've got the plate sandwiched now. Come in here, put your spacer on first. Get your palm wheel in there. And you probably have to play around before it'll really go in. Okay. Now we got to get our other spacer in there. So I mean that you're gonna have to jiggle it around a little bit before you can get it to go. And I say put the bolts on the back so they're all facing the same direction. It doesn't make sense to have them facing the other way. I don't see a reason why you'd want them to face the other direction. I gotta go look really quick on this other printer to see how they're installed on it. And I think the reason they're facing the opposite direction on these before the modification is just because the round head does a little bit better on the back side of this. But you don't have anything up against the bearing cover now. You've got a spacer that's small and round, and then a plate, and then a nut. So this is a way to do it. This will work fine. So now we just come in and adjust the eccentric after we get all these tightened. Am I using the wrong one? I think I might be using the wrong. Oh, there we go. And I'm just going to snug them up first, one at a time. This one here can't be too snug because you still got to be able to adjust this eccentric. So and I don't remember the size of that. It's like really close to a 10 millimeter. I don't know if I have one handy. I do in the drawer of the printer on the other side. And I do have my toolbox. So Okay, so I'm gonna come here, and so I can rotate that wheel by hand. I don't want to do that. It's not tightening up. There we go. Okay, so we don't want it too tight, so I need to kind of, I can spin it by hand still, but and then I'll rotate the screw down until I get it right where I need to be. I'm going to reattach it to the gantry. But let's just make sure that we got this one tight enough. I don't want it too tight, but I don't want it loose because I don't want to have to take this off. Just snug. I don't want to have to take this off later on. You should be able to kind of tell, you know, if you're too tight or too loose. This is not going to be as critical as it normally would have been, because now you've got dual accesses. So you just get it to where it snaps in. Line up your bolt holes, your old screws here. These are going to be the where's my key? Try and make sure you got this piece here pretty level. I've got to take apart that other printer because over here they're loose. There's one of them you can't get to. This one here, apparently is going to be difficult. And right now I'm just trying not to drop my bolt. I'm going to loosen this. It's not lined up. I'm not sure what's going on here. So we might have trouble. There's a hole here so that you can put your thing through to attach the bolt through here with your Allen key. My problem right now is that my bracket is being restricted and can't slide over because I have too much tension on the roller. So I had to take the preload off the roller because this hole wasn't lining up here at all. So I hope that makes sense. So I shouldn't have preloaded it first. So now you see the other one starts to walk down with it now. So if these are out of sync, this thing is going to bind like crazy. It's super hard to move when you have dual Z. Also, there is no lube in the kit here, so you basically want to put something on it. And I personally just use petroleum jelly. Put a little bit right here. On both ends of this screw, so that when you travel, it gets up in that nut in there, and then any extra that you got, just wipe it off on the other one. So it doesn't want to go up as easy as it does down. Now, I'm pretty sure I checked all these, but I'm going to check them again. One of these motors turns a lot easier than the other, which is kind of not good. It might be nice to replace with two identical stepper motors. But they didn't decide to do it that way. So then you just have your bearings. You really could probably be fine without putting them on there. In fact, they might cause you more trouble than they might be worth, because if anything is out of alignment when you go to use them, you might have problems. I have a printer that has like these at the top, and there's nothing inside of them. It's just kind of like this retainer. It's designed to just hold it there. This is pretty centered. So anyway, I don't really care, but I'm going to install them because I have them. So we got some of our old bolts here, and I'm gonna put these in here, and what else do we have? We've got a remaining amount of T-nuts. They looks like they gave us extras, maybe 2 and 2. Looks like we have an extra 4. Just trying to see, did I miss something here? Okay. You know, the extras aren't extras; they're actually for the power supply. But we didn't do that, so we didn't need that. So I'm pretty much just basically I'm ready. I'm like, I got to run the wire, and you know, that's really about it. So we have these longer ones here. They say to use the number 2, which is 2 M420s, but there's 4. So I don't know if there's another bag. These are M46. So let's just make sure that we don't have another bag of these laying around. That's why I'm putting them all back in here. These are great to save for other little parts and stuff that you might have. So the kit requires you to go into the motherboard and change everything. I would say, since they're actually both using the single driver, why did they not just make a female one of these and come up with a Y adapter? To save you the hassle. But no. So let's make sure we know where these M46s go. M420, M540, M316, M414. So they're using EM46s, 6 of them, to attach to the power supply. So that's what those are for. So these long ones here are what we had left. So let's just get that done. I don't really care about it, but I still got to lock in down here too. I don't know if they have like a preferred position for these. I don't know if they show, because you could put it one way or the other. So they show it with this part here facing up. We just drop these down in here. Jeez. And install some key nuts. Hold it with your Allen key. And just thread one on. And then this could be difficult actually. I didn't think about it. So possibly something that should have been done first. If I roll this down really low, I'll be able to move it to make it fit. But right now, like, I'd have to bend it. So the way to do this for me is going to be just like that. A little bit more. I really don't want to do this like that. So yeah, you probably should have put that on there first, I guess. It just seemed like it really makes sense to be trying to wrestle this damn thing while accidentally put it on there wrong too. And they've got it going into this channel here, so we just have to there we go. So now, and I'm just trying to keep it where it feels like it's natural. You're gonna have to pry on the other one to put it on there anyway, so this is probably fine. Or did that one come undone? Sometimes the T-nuts will come undone. Okay. That. Put these ones in here. I should probably film this and speed it up, but whatever. I'm by no means professional. Very, very amateur. But hopefully it helps somebody that's trying to figure out how to do this. It's, you know, like a long-winded speech, but the information's there. Okay, so we got this one here. Go ahead. Take the screwdriver and rotate the T-nuts in the back till they set in there. And come in and tighten them. Okay. And if you have any kind of like binding issues, you may want to loosen these later on. But I mean that's about it. I'll do the cable here in a second. I'm not sure if they even show where they want you to route the cable. They don't. But you're probably going to need to go around the back of the stepper motor. That's what I'm going to guess. So it depends if the cable is long enough, and you'll have to figure out a way to make it reach. Alright, so we're going to kind of get an idea of how long this thing is. Would have been really nice, like I said, if they'd have made a female connector on one end. So we could just split it off of the original. So they do give you this piece here, which is nice of them. And you may or may not want to use it, I don't know. So, where do they really do this? This is so stupid. Look at this. So there's another kit that they have that doesn't work like this. It doesn't send two big long pieces. It sends one to there, and it comes out of the other connector and goes across. So it looks like we got plenty of length to do this. So I think this is like the stupidest way to do this. If I had any of these connectors laying around, I would definitely manufacture something different. Okay, so we get the one here. Let me go ahead and plug that in. We'll unplug the other one and plug this one in. Now, it's not the same. This is the wrong connector. What the hell? Wow, that is weird. So, I thought they were doing it that way, but they're not doing it that way. Okay. I'm like, it doesn't fit. What the hell? Okay. I think some people in the reviews mentioned this about them not being correct. And they didn't realize that they had the wrong end. Because the one on the board has 4 pins and the one at the stepper has 6 or something. Yeah. They don't use all of them. There's still only 4 wires. So, hopefully, oh my God. Guys, I just noticed something. You gotta see this. No wonder Dave was having problems. Look at this. This is completely loose. I've been printing with this damn thing. Like this. Holy hell. By the way, this new thing is not square. And I've run into this before. But holy hell. Printing like this with a single Z That's crazy. Anyway, I'm so glad we saw that. I've got to check all these other ones. I wonder if they're loose too. That's crazy. So, okay, we got this one here. We got to go in here, and then we deal with this stuff. They gave us the shielding cable for it. So we'll put that over that one, I guess. Anyway, wow. That's crazy. I feel like this one's not quite square, but let's see. They can be loosened, and you just kind of run it up and down while it's loose and let it find its natural spot it wants to be. Wow, that's crazy. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so this one's a little bit different than what you would have to do on the other printer. You got to get that screw out of there. And let's see, is this the one? Nope. Okay, I grabbed the wrong one. So you got to remove the one up on the top here, and you have a couple of options. The wire is plenty long, so you have a couple of options of where you actually want to route the crossover from the other stepper to this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on its side. I'm going to see actually if I have these little blocks that are designed to snap onto a printer. I do. Okay. So these may or may not fit, but these are for a CR10 or a pyramid printer. And you put them like here, and you put one on this axis normally, but because this isn't built like the other printer, you might be able to get another one in here. Let's go ahead and raise this up a little bit. And well, this will allow us to set this printer on its side without setting it on any of the other stuff, probably, maybe. Yeah, it's not really wanting to stay like that, but so what I'm going to do, I'll remove this one down here. You know, I'll let the printer sit like that. It's actually sitting on the rubber blocks over here. And then, let me see if we can get in here, show you what I'm doing. Okay. Okay. So we got to get this cover off here. And let's go ahead and rotate this where I can see better. These three screws. I've had this open a few times because I had to replace the main board, and then I repaired the old one and put it back in. The problem with this was being a Neo, I needed the old 4.2.2. The 4.2.7 is fine for an Ender 3 V2 because they actually have a firmware for it. But when you want to try and put clipper on this, you need to be able to have the factory firmware on it. Okay, so you need to identify the one that says Z and go ahead and remove it. Sometimes it's glued in. This board's been out before, so it's not glued in, but it's still a very, very tight fit. And in the case of this one, I think it's actually been zip tied together with the rest of the wires. So just be careful you don't break the board trying to do this. And hopefully this will fit through that hole up at the top, but I'm not sure. And it might actually have to remove yet another bunch of stuff to actually get this to go through here. I don't know that it fits through here without like pulling this cover. And so that is indeed not going to fit through there. We will pull this back forward and we're going to have to remove a few things. So this is a little bit more in depth than the other one where you can actually remove a cover up top. So we got a screw here that you guys can't see on camera, but it's a longer one. And you need to slide this forward to get to it. And then, once you do that, then we're going to need to remove those. Okay. And I think that's really all it is. So there's our Z cable. So now we just need to put our new one in there. We come through here and make sure they're not routing anything in the wrong spots. Or just lift it up and we'll pull it through here. And then try and get this thing to go back where it was. So yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. Imagine building an entire printer like a Voron. This would be cake. I find that by doing stuff like this, you become, you know, a little more, yeah, all kinds of crap stuck in here. You become a little bit more intertwined with your printer, and you start to understand things that you wouldn't normally understand because you've had it completely apart. It's just like a vehicle. You know, the more that you know, dug into the thing, the more that you really know about how it goes together. And then when there's a problem, it's easier the next time. It's like if you've never rebuilt the motor before in a car, it's not going to make much sense the first time. And you're going to be having to constantly check and double check everything. Okay. Let's get our clip in here and make sure that it's in here all the way. I think there's some glue in this particular one. It's kind of stuck in here. I had this happen before where I plugged it in and it felt like it was in all the way, but it was not. And so because of that problem, I ended up having an issue and I had to take the cover back off. Now be careful with all of these wires here, not to pinch any of them, and we can get this back. They kind of have a silly way of doing this to where it's not really the best in the world. And also I'm going to have to loosen these now because they're allowed to slide one way or the other a little bit too much. So we'll get this back in here and kind of get it square first, because I've had an issue with this in the past, like where it just didn't want to line up. Like right now, this doesn't want to line up. is very close, but it's almost like they put the rubber pad just a little bit too close. This is driving me nuts. See, put these washers on these things. I don't know that they need to be there, but they were there, so I'm putting them back on. And now, finally got this thing where it needs to be. And I'm one-handed holding it and can't get the damn thing to start. Please. Please don't move. Let me get it in there. This other one's a real fun one. So I guess I'm gonna have to do that one last. So I need to get over here and find out where that washer went, or I'll just live without it. God, it pisses me off. It probably fell on the floor right here. I know I'll find it later. I don't really feel like it's necessary, so I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm not in the mood. I don't like these ball end Allen wrenches when you're trying to get something like this going, because you can't get the screw to sit on the end straight. So this one right here is kind of hard to line up. That's why I was saying it would be really nice if the Allen key was actually not ball-ended. You got that one. See, that one doesn't have a washer on it. And I don't know why these other two do. I haven't built one of these from scratch, so I don't know if that's normal. So you got two screws that need to come in at the top. The short one goes in the front and the long one goes in the back. Come on. And these don't want to line up either. They can be a real pain. So it's a good idea to probably tighten all this stuff after everything is already started. And this one's also extremely hard to see. So it's really hard to tell if you're in the right spot or not. You got that one. We're suddenly binding on this thing too. This I gotta do something about this, the extended wire for this. So we just need to tighten these. So yeah, it's kind of a pain, you know. The instructions, they're not all that great, but I think they're assuming if you're going to do this to your printer, you're really going to be monkeying around. So now that we did all that, we need to address what's going on in the back here. So you've got the bed over here, you've got these wires. You're probably, I mean, you could do this, you could go like this. You can bring this through here, around the side if you want, and then up and under. And that might be the easiest way to do this. And then you could like maybe zip tie all these right here. What I like to do is I take these twist ties and I use them. And that gives me an idea if it's going to work or not. And then if it doesn't, I just remove them pretty easy, you know. Okay, so my only issue right now is with this, and I think that would actually probably get it out of my way. The other problem here is we need to take this one here and run it back down underneath this little tape that you would have had to remove earlier. This kind of like fabric-y cloth tape. Hopefully that'll stay on there, because I don't have any tape like that. And then so yeah, they definitely gave you plenty of wire. Let me get this one up and over this. Okay. This is definitely an issue for me right here, this thing. And I have not found a good solution to this. I had it going around there, and I'm just like, no, this isn't working. And what it really boils down to is that the extruder wire is just a little bit too short. I think everything else is okay. I'm going to use this old crappy zip tie just because I have it laying around. Call it good. A little tight on the bed. So what we do is we're going to release that, I think, maybe then. So that looks good. Let's get that bundled up in there. So we can just see how it does once we get it running. All right, let's go ahead and turn this thing on and see what it does. Do we have any problems or not? Wait, I've accidentally plugged my cord in around the bed wires. Okay. All right, so it takes a little while for this thing to boot up. All right. Come on. Boy, it's really slow. Okay, so everything looks okay. Let's go in here and we'll just start by doing a preheat. Just for the heck of it. I've got to tighten the Z on the piece here, so I'm gonna make sure these look okay. And we'll come in here. Come on. So we still have to deal with the tension on this. We check the tension on the belt. So basically, we don't want these wheels to be this loose. If I can rotate the outside wheels, this thing's too loose. Okay, that one's tight. Wow. Okay. It's still kind of rotating. It might be too tight. So what we got to do is hopefully it doesn't do anything weird. Of course. How did I know it was going to do that? This thing always does something retarded. And it has the end stops here. So why is it not stopping? So usually what I found is like if you've moved it around like this, just go ahead and like attempt to like home it as closely as possible. Also, I think what's happening here is this piece here is not supposed to be that far out of the way. And so it was stopping it from going all the way. Okay, Let's try this again. This is going to be an issue. I didn't have that thing hanging out like that before. So, I either got to go around this damn thing, or I don't know. But it looks like it's working, so I just got to deal with this. It's sort of in my way right now. We'll figure it out. Alright. So what we can do, because we're already, I guess we're not preheated. Yeah, we had emergency shutdown. Okay. I'm going to try and print a test cube. Okay. What I don't like is this thing will really sit here and pause in one spot while it's heating up, cause all kinds of problems. I've already burned through this thing. It looks like we're a little bit hot, so we want to be, I would say at least 210, maybe less. This is PTG. It says 210 to 230, but I mean I see that stringing there. So I don't know how accurate the temperature of this thing is, but so this will be our first print with the dual Z, and I'm going to leave it like it is. It's printing at 20 millimeters a second, and it's going to take 54 minutes to print this thing, and I'll see if there's any improvement on the cube from the last one. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Got any questions or whatever, leave them down in the comments. I'll do my best to try and help.